Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Well, today I'm going to be taking this little beginner's GPS drone out for its test flight. Now, if you want to see the full table review portion of this drone and what comes with it, stick around to the end. I'm going to put that at the end of the video since most of you guys just want to see it fly and don't really care about the table review, but I'll put that at the end just in case you do want to see what's all included with it. Now, this drone is the Dynalog. That's, as far as I know, a new brand to Amazon, though I believe they have some association with Hub, which is a more established brand. So it's like a sister company of them. And the model number on this, you can see, is a bit of a mouthful. It's a DR-DG600C. Again, this is a GPS drone. It's just brushed motor powered. It's just a beginner drone. They even say at the beginning of this manual, which I really think is neat, they say this is not a professional aerial drone. They're telling you, hey, don't expect a whole lot. This is just a toy, just brush motors. But it is GPS, so it has those smart characteristics of being able to turn home, landing close to where it took off, holding its position, so it's easy to fly. Now, the camera here, you have to manually tilt this the way you want it to aim. It is not motorized. And it doesn't say any specifications in the manual as far as I can see on the resolution of the camera, but it does say in their small print FHD camera, which means full HD. So it should be 1080p resolution, though I don't know the frame rate on that. Hopefully it'll be around 24 to 30. So as you can see here, it also has a micro SD card slot. Now again, I went over all this in the table review, but I just want to briefly go over a few things because a lot of you guys won't watch that. So you will be able to record video directly to a micro SD card. It has a max capacity of 64 gigs, so keep that in mind. But at least we won't be recording over the Wi-Fi. It uses a 1S lithium ion, and it comes with two of these, and the capacity on this guy is 1600 milliamps. I think it had a advertised flight time of 12 minutes on this, which is not too bad, and it sounds pretty realistic for the size, because this is only 202 grams for the battery inserted into it. So that's well below the 250 gram limit, which in the US and many other countries really prohibits what you can do without, like in the United States, an FAA number on it. So this guy, you're free to fly. You have to still abide by the rules, but you don't have to have any sort of FAA number or anything on it in the United States for this guy. So the controller, I want to just briefly show you that too. I don't have the bottom arms fold out here. They fold out into your hand. So I didn't have those folded out yet. But you see it's got all the buttons, including a compass calibration on there. So that's how you initiate it right here. We'll go over that in just a minute. But a pretty decent little controller. The antennas are fake, so that's why they're folded down. You put them up, that's fine, but it's not going to make a bit of difference. And these dials, this one doesn't work, but this one is your speed rates on this dial over here. So let me just pause the video, get the drone powered up, and then we'll do the gyro and the compass calibration. And then we'll get up in the air and just see, since this video is not going to be stabilized, how stable is the drone? Is the video even sort of usable? And of course, how well does the return to home and stuff like that work? So let me pause the video and be right back. All right, guys, so I have the drone connected to the Wi-Fi. We need to get up in the air pretty quick here because it does tend to, the drone will turn itself off if you let it sit on the ground too long. So got a screen recording going here. You can see we already have the beginner mode. It comes by default set off, so everything's set to max, and return to home set to 25 meters. If you want to lower that down, you can, or you can just put it on beginner's mode, and that will actually cap your distance and the height that you can actually go in the sky. So what you need to do first, we need to do the compass calibration. Now, the app is called the Dynalog Besta app. Maybe the first person that's ever downloaded this app. But yeah, I'll put a screenshot of that up, and it should be also in the table review as well. So let's do a long press of 3 seconds, and that hits us in the compass calibration mode. And then we're just going to pick up the drone, and we're going to rotate it here level 3 times, and it should beep. And then let's do, you heard the beep there, 3 times nose up, and it should beep. And we're good to go. My camera on my head is kind of bobbling around today, so I apologize if it falls out of place. I don't know. I'm wearing different sunglasses, and that may be what's doing it today. And a gyro calibration is both 6 down to the left, and we calibrated the gyro for level. And we can start a recording of which should be 1080p with pressing on this right bumper. And unfortunately, the controller is going to beep the entire time that we are up in the air, which is going to be super annoying, as you guys can hear. And you can press the takeoff button, but all that does is just start up the prop. So you go ahead and press that, and then you have to go ahead and give it throttle. Now I had this up in the air for just a moment while ago, so the battery might be, it's not fully powered, but it was really stable. Nice yaw. Now you can set the rates with this dial, but you see you hear it beeping in between there, and the yaw increased. But I can't tell you how many rates because the darn beeping of the recording is throwing off how many beeps I'm trying to hear. Anyway, it's a nice calm day, but it has definitely 2 rates, of course, and it might have been 3. I just couldn't tell you there because of the this constant beeping while we're recording. So I'm going to try to include this onboard footage along with the screen recording, and then I can see it's getting out towards the edge of sight there, but I can still see it. We are out 145 meters. My brightness on my phone is way down because I don't want my phone wants to turn off when it gets too hot. We are out 184 meters. We have a really good Wi-Fi. This is one of the best I've seen of some small, more toy grade drone. So we'll just include this footage, and then after we land this, I may just go to the screen recording so we don't have to listen to this insanely annoying beeping. Let's go ahead and do a return to home. Now it's going to beep really quick now as it returns to home. We don't want to fly any farther than that because right now I can just barely see it. So we want to make sure we are in line of sight here in the United States. So we are obeying the FAA rules. And it is flying back here. And it being that small as this drone is, being a MAVIC Mini style, here it comes right there, is of course going to be easy to lose sight of. Let's just see how accurate the drone is as it comes down here. How close to the helipad will it be? Looks like it's going to be pretty good here. Really stable fly. I'm really impressed with this as a toy grade, how well it flies. And the camera looked, from what I could tell, pretty good. It's going to be shaky because there's no stabilization, but at least they're upfront about the fact this is not meant to be a professional aerial videographer a drone by any means. This is a toy, folks, but it seems to be a pretty nice one so far. That's fine. I mean, you cannot expect a drone that only has GPS and no precision landing cameras to come down on the helipad unless it just gets really lucky. So let's go ahead and do that press on this and stop recording the video. So you guys should have seen that video now of the drone, and my camera's wanting to flop down a little bit again. And now we're just going to take it up and we're just going to use a screen recording, which shouldn't be a whole lot different, but it may have some drop frames. So keep in mind, the first video you saw was from the SD card in there. This is going to be just from the screen recording, so it may not be quite as good a quality. So let's go ahead and get it back up in the air here, and let's just try both sticks down and out. We'll start the props, and then you can just give it throttle. So you can see now we should be able to test that rates because we don't have that annoying beeping of the recording. So I think that's on a higher rate. There's 2. So right is 2, that's your high speed, and the left is 1, there's your low. So left on the dial drops you to low rate, right raises you 2 beeps to the high rate. So low is going to be a little better for filming, and on a day like today with not a lot of wind, you can keep it in that lower rate. Yeah, it flies really nice for a little brushed GPS drone. And it's got that MAVIC Mini look. I mean, if you were flying this drone around, someone would think you had a Mini 2, maybe not the Mini 3, it looks considerably different, but it looks like that. But of course, this is a lot less money, probably half the cost of even the original Mini. But this doesn't have a gimbal. There's not even EIS, so the video is going to really suffer compared to that drone. But if you're on a budget and you want to see how you can do with the GPS drone, you don't want to spend the full amount of money, this appears so far to be a pretty good option. I've had so many drones, a lot of issues lately And this drone so far is actually exceeding my expectations. So what do we got here? We got a low power, it says. Now that's partially because I flew this a while ago to see how it would do. So we're not going to be able to test any of the smart features, but you know, I'm not too worried about that. If you guys really want to see me test circle mode, which is called point of interest, and follow me, I can do that. But most people that buy these little drones are not too worried about those. They just want a drone they can fly, that's not going to crash and it'll come back and land itself if they lose sight, or they lose the FPV feed, or most importantly, if the battery would get low. So right now I'm sure it's capped us on how far we can go, but it may just land itself here if it gets too low, because when you're really close to the home point, the drone sometimes will just land rather than fly back up, go over and come back down. But if you're out a little ways, the drone will definitely fly back and land itself. So I probably flew it, I'd say 3 to 5 minutes the first flight. So I don't know if we're looking at 12 minutes. Of course, we're not dead yet, but that was pretty quick in my opinion, to the low voltage. But keep in mind, I did flight before this. I was trying to film and I realized my head cam was not recording, so I had to start the video over again. So this is not a full battery, but it was, you know, it should have been pretty close. The meter said it was full. Now on here it shows you, as you guys see in the screen recording, it shows that at half voltage. So it's almost like it starts to tell you it's low at half, at least according to the meter, which would be really, really sensitive. I don't think this thing will let us do any of the smart features. I'm pretty sure the instructions said that it was disabled, but we'll give it a shot here as we're just sort of flying it around here. And we'll just see. It probably will just tell us here if we click it, yeah, you can't do it because of UAV voltage too low. Again, this has 2 batteries, 2 chargers, so you can get this out in the field, fly back-to-back batteries, and get a pretty decent flight time. It looks like it's going to go ahead and land itself now, so it's coming on down. I'm just going to go ahead and land it here. It was lowering itself, but it didn't quite all the way come down. Oh, look at that! Right on the helipad. Very nice. And thank God it stopped beeping, letting us know it was in low voltage. Some drones, as it sees the voltage low, it doesn't recognize it's on the ground and it stopped flying, so it doesn't need to keep warning you that it's low and it needs to land it. All right, guys, you saw we got some video there to the SD card, and we got screen recorded video. I believe that was going to be 1080p. Again, it's not stabilized. There's no motorized gimbal. This is just a camera that you have to manually tilt. One nice thing is you can't aim it way up like this. So if you're flying forward, you're going to be able to hold a horizon. But as you're flying with very little input, you're going to be filming the sky. That's the problem with doing that. But yeah, overall, a nice little drone. You have the blue LEDs in the front and the green in the rear. Overall, I'm pretty impressed with it, though it seemed like the flight time, again, I flew this drone before that test flight, so do not think your flight time is going to be that short. Probably add 3 to 5 minutes to the flight time we got now, but I think it's still probably closer to 3, so I think it's going to be a little, you know, it's going to be less than 12 minutes, in my opinion, on the total flight time of this guy. But, you know, keep that in mind. But it does everything it says it does, and it does it quite well. Return home was really good. So if you're interested in this, there'll be a purchase link to Dynalog on Amazon to purchase this. I don't remember the exact price. I wanted to think it was in the $160, $70 range. If that's the case, that's a little pricey. I'd like to see this closer to the $100 range. But I don't have the purchase link at this moment I'm filming this. I will have it. I'm supposed to send it to me because it doesn't go live until the day this video posts on July 20th. That's when it'll be available to purchase from Amazon. All right, guys, that wraps up the review of the Dynalog. I don't remember the name because it's such a long mouthful. But overall, a nice little drone. I would recommend it, especially if you can get it for a good price. All right, guys, thanks for sticking around to the end here to catch the table review for the DR-DG600C. That's a mouthful, isn't it? So just very quickly go over the stuff, so you guys can see everything that does come with this drone. You get a full set of props, so you don't, some these drone manufacturers just include 2. This has a full set of 4 for each one in case you would bust these swing open props. You get some screws here in these bags for attaching the props, because they take 2 little screws, which you would need to use a small little Phillips screwdriver like this if they include to actually take it off and reinstall them. You get 2 chargers for the batteries, so that lets you charge up both of them, because as you can see you get 2 of these batteries, and as I showed you in the flight review, this is a 1S and it is 1600 milliamp hour, and they advertised at 12 minutes on the flight time, but it was probably closer to like 10 minutes probably, though that was not how long I flew it. Of course it was a lot much shorter than that because I had flown it a little bit before the actual video you guys saw, so that actually you know, was reason why the flight time is reduced in the actual video. And then they give you a micro USB cable, and this is for charging the controller, which I'll show you guys here in a minute. So let's take a look briefly at the drone, then we'll look at the controller, which you guys have not had a chance to get a close look at in the actual flight review, which you already saw. So the drone has a micro SD card slot here on the bottom, and this will support up to 64 gigabytes. There could be some compatibility issues. I had some issues with the card that I used, so you know, you make sure, you know, I had to use an ADATA 64 gigabyte card. Maybe go with a 32 to be safe, and you know, just, you know, you may have to try a few brands, is what I'm saying. Sometimes these can be a bit picky on these micro SD card slots on these lower cost drones. Here's your full HD 1080p camera in the front, which again, you have to set the angle on this. It is not motorized. Of course, this is GPS and it has altitude hold, all that good stuff. It's got green LEDs in the rear motor pods, and then it's got blue lights, I guess you could call them the eyes. Front here of the drone will light up blue. And then you can see where it looked like they had a spot where they could put an optical flow camera, but that obviously has not been added to this drone. So the only way it can hold position is GPS. If you flew this indoors, you could switch to just altitude hold mode, but it would of course move around and drift some. So just keep that in mind on this guy. So, and this comes in at 202 grams on my scale, so roughly 200 grams, well below any limits in most countries around the world. So it's gonna be very easy to be able to fly this drone. You don't have to worry about any kind of regulations on it. And then here is the controller. Pretty standard with that little swing out arm grip, hand, you know, little arms, like you could call them, for your hand grips on the bottom here. These antennas are fake. By that I mean there's no wire inside of these, because an antenna would just be a wire on these, and some of these drones have a wire in here that will run out and up one of the antenna. It's very, very rare for both to be real, but this one, both of them are fake. It's just for looks. Very common to see this. It makes the drone look a bit more official. But if you noticed in the flight review I had them down, I'll probably get a comment from somebody saying, why'd you have the antennas down? Well, because they're not real. And as you saw, the FPV range on this, which is connected over Wi-Fi, was really impressive. Probably the best I can recall in a long time on a drone of this size and this, you know, brushed motor, lower cost, lesser known a quadcopter. It was really impressive. I was out well beyond 150 meters and it was still going strong. Now you've got some buttons here on the front. Of course, you've got, this is your phone clip holder to pull out for your phone, which I was using in the video. You got some red lights here that tells you the different things that the controller is doing, like return to home or your speed rates, the battery, the power I should say. And those will light up when you turn it on. You guys can see. They will actually be different whenever you're bound to the actual craft. You have a headless mode, so if you want to switch into headless mode, which is basically where your orientation doesn't matter, and that's something you just don't need in a GPS drone. So I don't know why this is such a big deal, because you really don't need to worry. But if you were flying this with the GPS turned off, then headless mode might be something you want to use if you are a beginner. This is your button that we pressed back in the flight review for the compass calibration. And then this is your says take off and landing. Now I didn't test the landing. It should come on down and land automatically when you press that. But for takeoff, it just simply fired up the props. It didn't actually take off, which I've seen that quite often. Sometimes these will say that, and all they're doing is unlocking the props, which you can also do with both sticks down and out, and then just give it throttle. It has your gyro calibration is both sticks down and to the left, and it beeps. That sets it to level in case the craft would be tilting. You've got your return to home button up here. You just press that and the drone will fly back and land where it took off, as we tested in the video. And this is where you hold this down and switch between GPS and altitude hold mode. And it's got some buttons on the top. This button, this dial here, even though it does move, is non-functional. The left one here, this is where you go left is your lowest. So if you're in second rate, you go left to go down to first rate. Right goes DD 2 beeps and goes up to your high rate. If you're already in the highest rate, of course going right won't do anything. So there's just those 2 speed rates, which I had trouble determining at first during the flight review, as you guys saw, because the controller beeps when you're recording video, and then it's hard to distinguish between those beeps and the beeps for the speed rates. Then you got your left bumper here is for photos, and your right, when you press, will start the video recording to the SD card. Also records to the gallery on your phone as well, on this guy. And it is rechargeable. That's why they gave you that cable right here. So you plug this in and you can recharge the internal LiPo. I'm sure it's just a little 1S LiPo inside of here, but that's nice. It means you don't have to mess with AA or AAA batteries. And considering, you know, this is not like super cheap, it's nice that you're getting more hobby grade type stuff with the rechargeable controller on, which is more hobby grade. And then here is the box. Pretty plain Jane, but just shows you the information which we already discussed. The DR-DG600C, and they advise us at ages 14 and up on this guy. So they were kind enough to send this out to me, and overall I think it flies really good. The only thing I really encountered, which you guys didn't notice in the video, was, you know, the SD card doesn't always want to record video, something that I had to mess around with. So that's something to keep in mind. Alright guys, I think that wraps up the entire review now. And again, I think this is a pretty good drone. It's going to come down to cost. So I'll put a purchase link that they're going to email me. Should be in this video, and you can click that if you want to check it out on Amazon. And then again, it seemed like it was a little higher than I would probably like to see. But one of the good things is, if you have any problems, if the SD card, because some of these drones have this problem, not just on this one, where the SD card doesn't record, it just doesn't save anything. If something like that would happen to you, what I'm getting at is, you can return this no hassles to Amazon. Ship it back. Heck, they might not even ask you to send it back, but they'll give you another one. That's my point. So you're getting, this is Amazon Prime, you get it in 2 days. So it's just really low risk on your end if you wanted to pick one of these up to see if a drone, like a GPS drone, is something you want to get into before you maybe move up to a DJI or a higher cost drone. You might want to try this one to see if it's something you like or not. Alright guys, that wraps up the video. Appreciate you guys for watching this. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing, and click that bell so you're notified whenever I upload a new video. And as always guys, have a wonderful day.
The power of the dark side.